Alright, look, solo queue can be one of the hardest and most annoying ways to rank up and hit champion in Siege, to the point where I've dedicated most of my videos to try and help people improve at solo queue. In this video, I'm going to be giving you 10 tips that I currently use when I'm solo queuing the champion. Before I get into the tips though, I just want to quickly say, if you enjoy any of these tips and you're going to use them, then please consider liking and subscribing, and also check out my Twitch if you want to see me use these tips live in game. So the first bit of advice I want to give you is to play to your strengths. You will find that it's so much easier to win games when you play in the way that you want to play. If you're a more aggressive player at heart, then be aggressive. If you're a more passive player, then stay passive. Don't force yourself into roles and into a play style that doesn't suit you and you don't know how to play. If people tell you to play a certain op and you're not comfortable with that, then just say, I can't really do that, I'm not comfortable on that operator, can somebody else? I don't just mean this like to have one main and then insta-lock them every time, but try and at least have a pool of comfortable operators, preferably ones within different roles, so that if there's a certain role that you need, you can switch onto it. But if that's not the case, then don't force yourself to play things that you can't play. If you force yourself to play an operator that you can't play, then all that's going to do is just hinder your team's performance and mess you up in games. The playing to your strengths tip doesn't just apply to your play style and your operators though, it also applies to little micro plays. If you have an idea to do a play, then trust your instincts and go for it, why not? If you go for the play and it doesn't work, oh well, at least now you know in future not to do that play, and if it works, maybe you've just found a new play that you can do like consistently to win rounds and win games. The next tip I want to talk about is communication is key. Siege is a game that's majorly based around communication, which just so happens to be one of the main things that you lack in solo queue. It's hard to have teammates that always want to communicate and play with you, but you need to at least try and get them to start talking. At the start of games, just start saying something in the mic, like say, yo, what's up? Hello guys, anybody got mics? Literally anything. Even just say something stupid to see if someone perks up and starts talking. This could be the difference from having a communication-less game to having top tier comms and having people refragging off each other and people playing with each other. Also in that, you need to also work on your own communication, so how you give callouts. Because even if your team's not calling, you should be calling out to them. Callouts should always be short, concise, but important. Also, you need to think about the tone of voice in your callouts as well. So if the call is needed quickly or urgently, say it in like, for example, let's say someone's flanking really close to one of your teammates. Say it with a lot of importance and loud, so that everybody can understand it and whoever needs to hear it, hears it fast. Also, if it's not urgent, then say it in like a normal tone of voice. If someone's flanking but they're far away, just say, look, someone's coming on your flank, be careful. A lot of players seem to get caught in either saying everything nonchalantly, where they'll be like, they're flanking you, they're swinging you right now, or they'll be saying everything like they've just snorted some pre-workout. There needs to be a balance with how you give call out. Make sure if it's an urgent call out, you say it urgently, and you say it with like a sense of urgency in your voice. If it's not really that urgent, then just say it in a normal tone of voice. A general rule of thumb when you're giving information is to say operator, location and health if it's important. An example of a call out could be Legion Moto 1 HP. That's literally all you need to say. You don't need to say things like Legion in Moto, kill him now, he's 1 HP, get him now, because that's adding so much filler information and filler words that you don't need, and it's clogging up communication, it's blocking sound cues, it's just messing up your team as a whole. Also try and make use of things like yellow pings. It's not exactly communication in terms of like actually speaking, but it's giving information to your teammates that they can use to swing off of, or to like further develop their understanding of what's happening within the round. Let's say your teammate's in a position to swing off of a camera, you can say something to them like, yo, on yellow ping, swing him now. Or like say the person's name so they know you're talking to them. So they'd be like, Ash, there's a Mozzie on yellow ping, swing him now, he's not watching you. Something like that, so that your teammate has enough context to actually swing and make a play off that. The next tip I want to give you is to adapt to the enemy's playstyle and to your teammate's playstyle. Humans are creatures of habit. If someone does something in a round and it works, they're likely to do the same again. If you lose a round because of a certain push or the enemy's doing something special, adapt to it. If you see the enemies are bringing operators like Capcan or Maestro, bring a Brava and adapt to it. If the enemies are playing heavy for swings, play slower and wait for them to swing. You should always try and read enemy playstyles because they're likely to continue to play in ways that are working for them. A lot of people will have the same kind of entry points every single round. If you can get on this early and understand that, you can be ready for them to enter in certain places. If you're on Chalet and you know this Ash player always goes in library, you can be ready with a C4 below it. It's so much easier to win games when you're actively trying to counter the enemy playstyles rather than trying to do your own thing every game. What I like to do is to take the first round to read the enemies, like entry points, general playstyles, and then immediately after that I'll figure out how to counter what I think they're going to do on the next round. Adaptations can also be done mid-round though as well. Let's say you're defending kids' dorms on Oregon and you see 5 people spawn street side. You can assume from that they're going to go from like a lobby master take and try and clear from that way across. So you can reposition yourself and adapt to that and be in a position that's more suited for winning that round. But adapting doesn't just mean to the enemy playstyle, even your teammates as well. If you're playing with a very slow paced team, maybe they need someone to get an entry for them and like take the space. That could be you. If your team is roaming a lot, Maybe you need to play on a support role on site. Think of things like that when you're playing. Think about how my teammates are playing, if we're leaving any gap. Make sure you're watching for gaps within your setup. If your teammates aren't like putting barbed wire in a certain place, you should put some there. If your teammates aren't holding a certain angle, you can do that yourself by like looking through walls and see what your teammates are watching. The next tip I want to give you is to do with positioning. Positioning in Siege is more important than aim in my opinion. If you're in the right positions, you're almost guaranteed to win most gunfights. Understanding this will put you in a much better position to win games. In ranked, people get lazy and don't drone as much as they should. I like to take advantage of this by playing in rat corners close to where players might entry, or like if I see a drone coming a certain way, I'll try and see if I can sneak past it and get to where the drone came from. Shit like that gets you so many freebies in Siege. Positioning is also being aware of where you're vulnerable from. So let's say you're playing 90 on Villa, for example, you need to be aware of like swinging past the 90 window in case someone's on it, or someone's holding an angle from like the ledge you can stand on further away. One rule I like to give people for positioning is to try and only be visible to one angle at a time, and in that process watch that angle while you're visible to it as well. So like play behind cover where you can only hold a certain doorway, for example. Or if you're swinging around corners at angles, make sure you're visible to one angle at a time, so like slowly go through clearing every angle. A positioning tip that I would give for roamers as well is to always have a fallback option set up. If you know where you're going to roam within a round, you should also know where you're going to fall back from as well. This can change depending on how the round plays out and the context that happens within the round, because obviously someone could enter from where you're going to fall back, and then that's not going to be a safe place to fall back from. So make sure you gain information of where people are coming from and where people are within rounds, so you know what's likely to be safe based off of like process of elimination. Positioning also comes into play when you're covering people. Let's say you're trying to get a plant down and you're covering for your teammate to plant. You should be covering in a way that you can kill the person pushing before they shoot your teammate, or like before your teammate is vulnerable to them. This might mean that you have to hold an aggressive angle. If that means getting the plant down and losing your life for it, then it's a worthwhile trade. Essentially the way that I like to think about it is, I would rather die while my teammate's getting the bomb down and him succeed to plant, than me be covering, stay alive, but my teammate dies while trying to plant because I wasn't covering it properly. Now for post-plant positioning, you need to learn that you can't be swinging in post-plants. Find a safe position and hold for enemy aggression. One of the safest places to play in a post-plant is rappelling on windows, because you can just hide in a safe spot where you're not visible and then start swinging when the enemies are like committing to a defuse. So if that's viable on the site that you're attacking, then go out and try and do that. Here's a clip where I use positioning and game sense to win a round without having to rely on any kind of aim. The next thing that I want to talk about is to stay calm and positive in games. When you're solo queuing, mindset is half of the battle. Sometimes you're playing a 1v9 simulator, so you need to rely on good mental fortitude to withstand everything that happens to you. The way that I do this is to try and only focus on what I have control over. I can't control what my teammates are doing, so I don't pay attention to any of it. I don't watch them and be critical of the playstyles and start flaming them if they die. If I die, I go straight on cameras and I give info. Why would you want to flame your teammates when you can try and put them in the best position to win rounds by giving them information from cameras? The way that I see it, if you've died before, like your teammate, and you're watching him, and then you're critical on his gameplay, you fucked up even harder by dying before him, so that's on you. If you have toxic teammates, don't let them tilt you into playing a different way, just mute them. It's simple as that. You might lose their information, yes, but it's better for your own gameplay if you mute them and just carry on as normal. The next thing I want to talk about is to play solo strategies. You should never ever rely on teammates to win rounds. Every strat you run should be self-enabling to win. It's nice to have teammates that back you up, but it's never ever guaranteed in solo queue. Most of the time they will let you down. So I've made a lot of solo queue strat videos on my channel. If you're unsure of solo queue strats, then you can check some of them out if you want. Just search the map that you're playing and there's likely a solo queue strats video on it. But if you don't want to do that, you need to be thinking of things like, if you need a wall open, then maybe play a sentry so that you can have EMPs and breaches to do it yourself. Or if you need information on defense, play someone like Valk and watch your cameras, or play Legion and swing off your trap. There's a lot of good self-enabling operators, especially on the defense side, like Legion, Fenrir, Valk and stuff like that, where you can use your own information, gain information through your utility, and then swing off that and make plays off that. The next thing I want to talk about is don't overcommit. I always run solo queue with the mindset of, if I die, the round is lost. This is a good mental rule to stay alive within rounds. Always try and hold yourself to this rule. If you get a first pick, don't overextend on that. just try and take it and run away and keep your life. Always be ready for refrags. If you've got a pick, someone's likely going to reswing to try and refrag and bring the man count back to like even playing field. So once you've got one, hold your gun up on angles that people could swing you from. If you're on a roam, never think about trying to kill the whole enemy team. Always think about wasting time and falling off. Don't overcommit to a position. You need to be moving like water around the map. Flow around the map and try and make impact, then fall off, then make impact, then fall off. The next tip I want to give you is to use utility wisely. Siege is not like other games where if you die with util in your pocket, you don't carry it through to the next round. If you die with a flashbang in your pocket, that's gone. So make sure you're using utility before you die. Make sure you're putting yourself in the most advantageous positions to win rounds by using utility. So let's say you want to swing an angle. Use a flashbang before you swing. Shit, use an ash charge before you swing on something just to create some distraction and create some chaos. Try and bait people by like ash charging one way then pushing from another way. If you're trying to swing a room and there's 2 doors that can watch you, smoke one of them off, then peek the other one, and then after you've killed someone on that other one, someone might push through the smoke, so be ready for that. Hold your gun up and be ready for the refrag. Here's some rules for utility. If you're using barbed wire on staircases, always place them at the bottom of the staircase so that you get the information as early as possible and eliminate the factor of someone coming up the stairs until the barbed wire and trying to find angles into sight. If you're using bulletproof cameras, do this trick where you can make them harder to kill. Reinforce the other side of the wall, then make holes in the wall so you can put the camera inside the holes, and it makes it so much harder to shoot it. If you're using nades, you can destroy gadgets or even people from below by shooting out a layer of the floor and throwing a grenade in the gap that's left. The next tip I want to give you is to learn from every single death that you have. If you go in with the mindset of every time that you've died you've made a mistake and go watch the replay of that game to figure out what you could have done better, you will speedrun your progression into improving. A lot of people have a habit of blaming things for the death because they don't want to take accountability for messing up. Don't be like this. If you play with a mindset like that, you will never ever improve. If you died to a player playing in a position you weren't ready for, then make sure you check for that the next time you're playing every point onwards from that. When you're looking at your replays to try and like improve from them, make sure you think about things like, is my positioning off here? Could I have used utility better here? Is my crosshair head level? Could I have just went a different way? And don't think about things like, what the fuck, he got lucky, why is he even there? Or my teammate messed us up here. 99 out of 100 times, if you die, you've made a mistake. Take responsibility and learn from it. The final tip that I want to give you is to take breaks. Solo queue can be a very mentally draining way to play the game. Sometimes you find your mental slipping out and you start getting into tilt mode. In times like this, it's so much easier to just take a break instead of tilt queuing and losing even more games. Don't go in with a gambler's mindset of trying to chase losses. If you get tilted, just hop off and come back with a clear head later. I know a lot of players that have realised it's kind of very easy to chain losses together, so when they lose one game they'll just hop off for a bit and come back on later. This can be a good mindset to try out to save you some time and sanity from going on huge loss streaks in ranked. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you feel like this helped you out, please consider liking and subscribing. If you have any questions you can hop into one of my Twitch streams and ask them. There's a link in the description, or even just comment down below and I'll reply to them. Thanks for watching.